Hey, hey. Good morning. Yeah, good morning. What else? Oh, it is a bit gloomy out. Um, I I just got up. I'll admit, you guys. I just woke up. I woke up really, really early this morning. Stupid early. And then I scrolled on my phone. I know I should have tried to go back to bed. I didn't. I will own that. And then I did have a timer, not a timer, what do you call that? An alarm set. So then I said, okay, well, I'll go back to sleep. And I know I will get some sleep, which I did. But man, it was so much more difficult getting up. So thank you, though. Thank you for being here to make it worth my while for getting up. Because I could have just laid in bed, people. Just laid in bed. So anyhow, here we are. It is Wednesday, October 8th. I was literally thinking I had the wrong page open in my daily road trip book. So that's what today looks like, okay? All right. Crazy. I've got some stuff going on today. I bet you do too. So I hope you're this morning. Good morning, Deborah Smith and Blonde Cheryl and Cheese Please and Sarah and Van and Becky. Good morning. I am just waking up myself. I got myself my cup of tea. It doesn't feel like a Wednesday. It's kind of been an odd week for me, and it will continue to do so because just as a heads up, good morning, Tammy Lee. Just as a quick heads up, and I'll probably say it a few times in the next hour or so that I'm doing this TikTok live. But today is the last TikTok live I will be doing in at least 10 days. Okay, so just to be aware that you got me now. Tammy Lee ordered a dumpster for this weekend. Rock on, lady. Rock on. I wish you all success. Good. I hope it works out better than you even hoped it would. Lots more stuff in the dumpster and fewer regrets in there as well. I'm glad you're so excited about it. Yes. Kind of doing that thing, spending the money, putting it there. Gives you the opportunity, and then the great thing is somebody else is going to haul that stuff away and you can get it done in all one fell swoop. This happened to us once. We didn't get a dumpster because we didn't have enough for a dumpster, but we got what was called a bagster, which is like a smaller dumpster, and we did it because we had a lot of leftover things from knocking down some IKEA furniture that gotten waterlogged and leftovers from projects and stuff, and it was really fun to not have the excuse, oh, it won't fit in the car or it's too heavy to declutter. So rock on. I love it. So good morning, Anne. I'm raising my little coffee cup to you as well. It is early this morning, and I will share one of the reasons why I decided to do an 8 a.m. TikTok live is, it's fine, Anne. I love that you have multiple accounts. That's really cool. For those of you who don't know me, again, I may mention it a few times throughout the next hour or so. It's 8:04 Eastern time, at least where I'm at. It may be a different time than you. My name is Beth. I'm a decluttering life coach, and my coaching is called Destination Decluttered. Why? Because I help you with your clutter. And I'm going to be here for the next 56 minutes or so doing this TikTok live. And then tonight, after you've lived your day and I lived my day, we'll reconvene over on YouTube for an 8 p.m. YouTube live to kind of see how everybody's doing, wind down the day. And then I have my calendar is clear because I'm going traveling. So I'm showing up on your FYP maybe, or maybe you are part of my email group and you knew that I was going to show up at 8 o'clock. I show up basically to let people know who don't know me or know about me already, to pretty much be like, hey, if you're struggling with clutter, that's something I am good at helping people get out of the struggle and kind of more into the groove, as Madonna would say. So what I like to just offer, and I will say this is how my lives roll. I used to say, how can I help you? But your answer is probably like, I don't know how you can help me. But you can describe a situation of clutter. Erin, good morning. You can describe your clutter situation using a location. Where do you have clutter that's making you not feel so good? Give me some details around it, and I am here to help you with it. So, yeah, that's why I'm here. So it can show up in a couple of ways. Sometimes there's surface clutter. That's really what I'm dealing with now. I'm kind of in between. So I look at clutter, just to help you about this, in 3 different layers. So there's surface clutter, there's stored clutter, and there's sentimental. Okay. Alrighty. So Anne says, I have some things where on the lawn and porches that need homes, and I think I want to keep them. Okay. I'm still shuffling and organizing the house, and the porches are full. Okay, so if you think you want to keep them, this is going to be one of those things, at least from the inference I'm getting from you, where you may not have found the perfect right home for things, but you know you want to keep some stuff. This reminds me of the chapter of my life when I was a manager and a visual merchandiser for Pier 1 Imports. And it reminds me of, for whatever reason, it reminds me of being in one of the stores that I managed, setting up for Christmas, all the Christmas decor. And what we had to do was temporarily kind of stage things somewhere else. So one of the things that may help you, of course, is always going to be seeing what, before you even if you can't find the right home for something, knowing that there may be a slightly better place for it, okay? But the other thing I'm thinking of too is it can take the same amount of mental energy to make a decision regardless of the size of the item, okay? And Melissa with a 3, good morning. So whether it is a piece of, whether it's a thimble, or I was using this word a lot yesterday, a chifforobe. So what you might want to do is, in the decluttering aspect, the decluttering portion of this journey with this stuff, take another look at what you have currently or maybe previously decided to keep in your house, but say, and this is where it becomes a math problem, that if your house is a certain amount of square feet and you measured all the items that you have in it, and that is also an amount of square feet, but you need square feet to live in, that all of the stuff that you have up to now decided that you want may not comfortably fit in your home, I would do another go round. And I would just double check with myself, and I would be looking for the big stuff, okay? I would be looking for the things that take up the largest square footage, because what you described to me, at least, seemed to indicate a lack of square footage for the things that are on the porch that you want, okay? The other thing is, too, maybe it is something that belongs on a porch, but maybe it isn't the right season for it, or there's too many things. Like, there may be some things that don't live on the porch that you've temporarily, as I like to say, staged them there. So that's where a revisit of what you have, because you may notice now, so think about it, Anne, when you started decluttering your home, you had a certain idea of what you want to hang on to, and you have now have practice in letting go of things, of offering them up to people, of sharing these things with people. So you are a different person. Your brain is working differently than it was when you started your decluttering. So revisit maybe some of the stuff that you started decluttering when your brain was different, and just see if that might loosen up some space in your home. Okay? Because your brain, hopefully if you're doing decluttering the way I like to do it and the way I share to do it, is going to be, now your brain will light up an association of different ways to do things and ways that feel good about it. Whereas prior, you may have thought, oh, I need to keep this thing because somebody gave it to me and I'm not allowed to let it go. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. I love that. So Anne is saying, yes, they are currently living in the staging grounds on the porch, but revisiting piles is a great idea right now. And Anne, remember to look for the big ones. Like, let's get some like easy wins, heavy hitters. Because again, go back to the thing where, and this is the thing that can trip people up when they are decluttering, is they will focus on something really small. Again, I'm thinking of like a thimble, that you would wear like on your pinky. A thimble. It can take the same amount or more energy to decide whether you want to keep this versus something big. So if you're looking for space, look for something that's taking up a lot of space. Okay, so look for the big stuff. All right, yes, exactly. Okay, the same bandwidth from a thimble, Anne says, and a mini trampoline. So notice your destination. Your goal is to find space. So don't go using that precious decision-making energy on little tiny things, okay? Now, Cap says the small stuff is the worst. I will offer that too. At a certain level of smallness, I say kind of good enough, because I will not gain a lot of space or utilization past a certain point. But the decluttering of the small stuff also may be small little things that you're like, I don't know what to do with this. What is this? I have this fear that as soon as I throw this in the trash, its usage will be revealed. And I will be like, no, poop, I put that in the trash. Also, a lot of times, one of the reasons we declutter is to create space, okay? Is to create space so we can breathe, so we can walk around, so we can make homes for the things that we truly do want. And when you are decluttering the small stuff, you don't always get that like sense of like, yes, like that dramatic creation of space when you're only working in like a little jewelry box. So notice that and do a quick survey of your small stuff. And you don't have to go through it with a fine-tooth comb, okay? Now, I love it because Leslie is saying, great idea. I did the same. I did that with the category of summer stuff and got rid of some things. Yes, because at the beginning of the summer, you thought you might need it. The end of the summer, did I need it? No, I can more easily. Notice where my hand goes when I say easily. Peace of mind. You can rest assured. You can feel safe in your nervous system, that you won't fear or regret letting something go. It is raining, so maybe there's a little flicker of the lights. Or maybe somebody who knows me from another realm is saying, good idea. Alrighty. Now, Melissa says, I will be going through all of my Halloween decor tomorrow as I am putting it out. Now, what I would love to help you with in that instance is just these offers. And think of this. I am walking around with a plate full of things that I think are helpful. You can choose to pick it up and use it or not. One of the things that helped me last year when I was putting out, we have a very little bit of holiday decor for Halloween, so it's not a big deal for Halloween, but Christmas. And what I realized was, what are the things that I enjoy putting out that are easy for me to decorate with, that are not too fussy, not too detaily, where I have to like hang up a bunch of stuff. And also last year, I gave myself the option because there were a number of items for holiday decor that I didn't put out. So when I opened that box this year, because I did not put these out last year, ask myself, okay, last year there was something about these that did not inspire me to put them out. Do I feel that way this year? Now, I gave myself a year to kind of settle on it. And do I feel the same way a year from now? I might. So I love that you're going through the stuff as you're putting it out, but also use it when you're putting away your holiday decor. Use that as an option to say, okay, I used this year. Kind of like putting away your what's the word I want to use? Your seasonal clothes. Okay, I wore that this year. Do I envision myself wearing it this year? Next year? And you might be able to, even 10%, even a handful of items that you say, no, thank you, it was good for this season, but it didn't work out the way I thought. I got some use out of it, but I'll donate it now. That will increase the quality of stuff that you have when you open it up next year. Okay. Now, alrighty. Marietta says, hi, Beth, rainy days and Mondays always get me down. No, that was Karen Carpenter said that. Rainy days make me want to sleep, trying to get motivated. You and me both, hon. You and me both. This might be a good day for, as I like to call it, puttering and decluttering, not getting into a big project. Maybe just warming up your engine by puttering around with your cup of coffee in your bathrobe. Maybe in bed, instead of sleeping, you will wake yourself up more slowly and you can grab a notebook and a pen, and you could write a list of things to do, not necessarily just for today, but just in general. That you have a list, because that will help you declutter your brain, your head, which can be a lovely feeling, you know? Yeah. And so, yeah, I get it. I was, as I said, I woke up wicked early this morning, and I foolishly went to go check to see what time it was in Berlin. And then the next thing you know, sloop, I slipped into scrolling on TikTok, and I fell prey to the stickiness. Alrighty. Now, TavG68 says, I have trouble with books, especially children's books. I don't need them anymore, but, and here's a really interesting thing. Finish that sentence. But what? Because the clue is going to, the answer, the solution to the problem, the answer to your problem, to solve your problem, the more details. Now, I'm thinking children's books may have an element of the third layer, the deepest layer of clutter, which is sentimental. That's why I have a copy of Make Way for Ducklings. Not because I love the book, it's a good book, but because my parents gave it to me for my birthday when I was like 2. And it's inscripted to baby Beth, So, yeah. Now this is fun. Mimi says, I just did a declutter bingo party when I cleaned out 2 rooms with stuff that was slightly used or new and had girlfriends loved it. Got rid of a lot. How fun is that? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so children's books. Now, if you have children and they read them, that may not be clutter. If you have children and here's the thing. Let me be very clear about this. This is a no judgment zone as far as clutter, as stuff that you have kept. So you may not even be clutter. It may be things that you've kept, but you're thinking, part of you is thinking, I shouldn't have this. And part of you is thinking, no, keep it. So I will say, follow the paper trail. This is what I find. If you are struggling, if your hands are not easily grabbing those books and holding them to your heart and saying, yes, I truly love this, I'm going to put it back on the shelf and feel good about it, or moving your hands and then saying, I love you, book, but there's another little kid out there who could read it now. If your hands aren't moving, there's something not working in like the robot of you. And your hands are attached to your heart. And before your heart, your hands are attached to your head. So there's a string. There's a connection between what you think in your head and what you feel in your heart and what you do with your hands. And notice this. CDN Girl says, I find it easier to part with things when I can find someone who can use them because, it feels good. It feels good. Little Tony, anybody? It feels good. So notice that. Notice that, CDN Girl, and anybody else here. Notice, go back to a time when it was easy for you to let go of something that you liked at some point. If it was easy for you to let go of it, you probably had a good feeling. And that feeling probably came from a good thought. Notice, I will find someone who can use this as opposed to throwing it in the trash. That feels good. And when you think good and feel good, you are more likely to get into action. Okay? Marietta is offering donate gently used kids' books to local schools or libraries. All right, Marietta, you said that right now. Maybe one of the things, if you were struggling to do stuff, maybe you set a timer today and you look at your book collection. If you've got books, you could try that too, even if they're not kids' books. Yeah. Now, Rocket Girl says, I did my bathroom yesterday. Bedroom is next. Entire apartment in the process as I'm going to move. Yeah, and for those people who are going to move, decluttering has a little bit more urgency with it. I say this to people who have lived in your houses, your homes, and don't plan on moving, and you've lived there for a while. It can help to pretend that you are moving. If I were moving, and not just moving any old place, this is what I like to play. If I was moving into the visual equivalent of my Barbie dream house, what would I take with me to decorate and use in my dream house, and what would I let go? What would I declutter? With that mindset, notice that. That's a story you're telling yourself, and it's running through the feeling filter. What would I put in my dream house? And if you keep stuff now in your regular house that you wouldn't put in your dream house, you're not allowing your current house to be your Barbie dream house. So think about that. Why does your dream house have to be somewhere else? You can get your current home feeling more like your Barbie dream house by editing out the things that you wouldn't bring to your dream house no matter what it looks like. Even the quantity of things, because think of moving. Everything, if you were to move, again, we're just playing. I love using our imaginations and playing because it's kind of like watching those TV shows when you're a little kid, like Sesame Street or Mr. Rogers and stuff. Good morning, Jeanette. And I say to you, pretend, make believe, tell yourself a story, because you're doing that already. You are telling yourself stories that are discouraging you, from decluttering. So let's create a story that could encourage you to declutter. Let's play with our imaginations and say, okay, if I were moving into my dream kitchen, would I need this many pans? Would I bring this? And could I even a declutter of 10% will give you more room, more ease in your kitchen. Okay? Yeah. Yes. Okay, so Erin, see, what would I put in my new house? So much would be edited out. So I offer to you, and I go through this a lot. I do, and it's happened every couple years. And so I ask you, if you wouldn't want it in your dream house, why do you currently have it today? Now, there are certain things that I have been able to declutter using that method, but then I have a better understanding of what things that I still wouldn't have in my Barbie dream house is like Palm Springs totally, and why I would not bring that with me, but it still is here because it is providing a useful function, so it's no longer clutter. So yeah, so Erin, notice that about yourself or everybody, and say, yeah, if this were my dream house, how can I transform this into a dream house? Maybe overwhelming, but picking out things that you're totally like, yes, that would go with me. This I'm not so sure of. Shows you there are different kind of temperatures, different levels of feeling. You know, I keep those two bookcases and this bookcase and this table and that bureau and that bed stand, bed, whatever. I keep those now because they are functional here. Even if they would be functional here, if I was moving to Palm Springs, I would not bring any of my IKEA furniture. Why? Because I don't know if I want to keep as many items. Currently now, if I emptied out this stuff, it would just be in a pile on the floor. But in my new house, if I needed IKEA furniture, I could go buy some new stuff. And it would probably be less expensive than having it moved across the country. Okay? So just play that game with you. Your brain has been kind of frozen in going down the highway of thinking the same thoughts all the time. But when you stop that, you'll realize there are different ways of thinking. There's all sorts of roads branching out that can make you see and feel about your stuff in a different light. What was the word I used yesterday? I used it in a comment on TikTok. A different school of thought, you know? So it can help to loosen up things, to say, I don't always have to think, yep, that's here, because I'm here. It can be fun to let go of stuff that you wouldn't even put in your new dream house. That's one step closer to making where you live your dream house. Alrighty. There we go. Melissa says, I'm going through my late aunt stuff, listing on eBay. Found a medium bin of mini painted houses. Cool. I love that Awesome Sauce says, I am a huge Barbie fan and the dream house analogy resonates with me. Notice that word, resonate. Resonating. It's something that touches you. Like, ooh, I get that. I feel that. You know? Yeah. So, Melissa, let me help you with this because I saw your second heart. Okay. What I would do this. Everybody here. Melissa brought up a topic that I want to make sure anybody here who has ever thought of maybe I should sell it as opposed to giving it away. I'm going to help you with that. Now, here's an interesting thing. Mini painted houses, if they are, I can't remember what it was. My sister, I used to sell vintage stuff. My sister still does. And I was with her when somebody was so excited to pick up these little ceramic houses. I can't remember who it was. It wasn't Mikasa. It was so funny. It was like my brother-in-law worked for them down in the outlets. It was one of the other China manufacturers. Noritake, regardless. And this woman was thrilled to find all these little ceramic houses that you put spices in. So Awesome Sauce, before, to give yourself peace of mind, to reduce the percentage of regret that you might have, prior to you deciding whether you're going to sell it or not, is do some investigation. So everybody here, do some investigation. Type in some words that describe what you have. Actually, the easier thing to do right now that they didn't have when I was selling is Google Lens. Take your phone, open up Google, take a photo or upload a photo of those things to Google. It can tell you more about that info based on other photos that people have. Now, it may not be something that's worth money, or it may be something that might be worth your time and energy to sell. But if you find out that it's nothing and it's only worth $5, you may feel better about donating it. If you found out that they were worth $500 or that somebody at some point spent $500 on them, that might rejigger your decision making on whether to sell it or not. But what I will say is, do not forget, because Melissa says it's a lot of work, and it can be a lot of work. So make sure that you are paid well for the work you do. Okay? Yeah. So think about that, all right? Yeah, part of you wants to sell it. Notice we have two parts of ourselves. Melissa just identified them. I call them the backseat driver and the co-pilot. And you have a struggle between the two. Part of you thinks I should keep it. Part of you thinks I should sell it. Well, let's walk a couple of steps down each one of those roads. In order to sell it, I need to know what price to ask for it. So look for what they would call comps, in real estate. See what somebody else has done it. Feel better about the decision you make. That's really what it's all about. Oh, hey, Kara, nice to see you, and good morning, Lizardo. Kara, hernia is acting up. Resting today. Good. Resting can be an activity that helps your body heal more quickly. Yay. Oh, and Marietta says, I have a baby named after me in Nepal from my guide's family. So easy to donate my daughter's stuff. When you take your things directly and see them used, it makes much easier to let go in the future. Lennox, thank you. Cap, I wicked appreciate it. That's what I was thinking of. And yes, you can go onto eBay and look after sold items. All good stuff. Yay. But one of the things that Marietta is saying is for her, Because she has a direct connection with somebody who could use her stuff, that makes it easier for her. What I want to do, though, is I want to broaden the pool. And this is where I think it's really fun that you could be, as I like to say, like the fairy godmother. All right? You could be the fairy godmother to somebody you don't even know. Think about the things that somebody donated someplace. If you've ever been a thrifter, you don't know who donated it, but you picked it, and man, is it something you think is really cool. You have a secret fairy godmother. I like being that person because it also makes it easier for me to say I don't have to know the specific person who's getting it. I can just choose to believe that somebody is going to be thrilled when they find this thing and can use it. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So if you ask yourself, should I sell it? You can look on eBay. And yes, Becky says, and I should have added that too, look for what something's sold for, not what somebody's asking. And two, note that if there was somebody who spent $500 on that item, that person is now not going to buy your thing. Just because there might have been one person that it was worth so much for does not guarantee you that there's another person like that, because that person is now out of the pool because they already bought the thing from somebody else. Yes. Decide the minimum you want to make for it to be worth your time. Okay? Yes. And consider that your hourly rate. How much time and energy will it take you to prep it for eBay? And what are you willing to accept to get after all that work? Because there's energy around money. There is. Somebody hands you 10 soggy dollars after all that hard work. Somebody sends you 10 crisp $100 bills after the same amount of work. Ooh, different feeling. So decide and notice that's kind of like a calibrator. Like ooh versus meh. Before you even get into the dynamics of selling it, create your set point. I will not go below this price. I may offer it up here so we have some wiggle room. And notice that set point is a point in your head and your heart and your body that everything feels aligned and good. Many things, like I feel good about what I did. Yeah, $20 sounds good, but low. Okay, so double it. How does $40, raise the bar, raise it. $20 sounds okay, but a little bit, Yeah. And Jeanette, I've been there. Jeanette says, speaking of people who buy and sell things on eBay and collect things, I am a toy collector. I collect Disney dolls and shop skins, but now they're just sitting in the closet collecting dust. Jeanette, I have one word that might change the way you think about this. And it's going to be changing. This is where I get like an English major. Changing the tense of the verb you used in your first sentence to the past. Instead of I am a toy collector, you're still identifying as being a collector. How about this? Because this is what I say now. I used to be a toy collector. In the past, I collected. Distancing yourself from it. Because notice, you may not have done it for a while, and maybe that's because you realized, as many of us collectors, we collectors do, is that sometimes we don't get that the fun, after a while, the fun isn't in having the item. It's the thrill of the hunt. It is the searching for it and that temporary, ta-da, I got it. But then you bring it home and you're like, oh, now what do I do with it? Like the novelty, the dopamine hit, the wave of dopamine has already crashed by the time you get it home. That's okay. It happens, I think, to every collector. And I personally think that it's important to realize that may have happened, that something that used to give you a thrill in the past is kind of like, meh, I'm good. But if you don't realize that, you may continue to identify as a current collector, and you may continue to collect, and all you're doing is bringing more stuff back in a certain category that's just going to go in your closet. I've experienced this with almost everything that I have collected, that the fun kind of went out of it after a while. Like I was full, like I'm good. Right. Yes. I look for it. Yeah, the uranium glass. And then, I can regret spending the money on that thing when I could have the money to do something else with. I still enjoy appreciating vintage items. I still enjoy occasionally going out to, there's a place near me that does a wonderful job of curating like the era of vintage goods that I like. And I love seeing them and noticing them and imagining them, using my imagination to say, do I have a place for that in my home? And if the answer is no, that's totally okay. Because that means I'm good with what I have. Have I been known to upgrade things? Sure. But just notice this from Jeanette. What are the things that you currently, what are the words that you currently use to describe yourself in the present tense? Out of those things, is there anything that you're not too psyched about? Flip the tense of the word into the past. Distance yourself from the unwanted behavior by putting it away, way back then, in the past, when I was younger, so much younger than today. Back in the day. Distance, time distance, so that you no longer identify as the collector, as the clutterer, as the shopper, but you say, I'm different now. I don't want to be that way anymore because all I'm doing is filling up my closets and spending my money. And I call myself a recovering collector. I do, because I think it's funny. And I still enjoy going into those places, but I don't feel that desire or that obligation. Anybody here ever collect anything and see something of the category you collect, and instead of feeling like, whee, you're like, ugh, well, I guess I should get it because this is what I collect. But notice even the tone of voice and my body language is like, meh, meh. It's not as fun as it used to be, and that's okay. If you're there, it's okay. And if you're still in the throes of collecting, note that zing may wear off. So appreciate it when you get it. But also know, even if you get that zing of discovery, you can walk around with it and then still not necessarily have to bring it to your house. Yeah, it became overwhelming. Okay, so notice, in the past, and the prices were going up and too many series were coming out. Yes, this is the thing that I think happens not more so now even back in the 90s and 80s when I was collecting stuff, when I started, they started bringing out these things that were made to be collectible. Those are things that you would rarely get good money for. But notice the abundance, the overwhelming number of things takes the fun out of it. You get overwhelmed, and I get overwhelmed and I shut down. I'm like, I can't even choose. So there's too many pieces of Fiesta ware and I can't choose one. So I don't choose any and I walk away. So notice that, Jeanette, it's totally okay. And everybody here who has something in their home that brought them joy at one point, and now owning it and living with it doesn't bring you joy. Yeah, as Steve says, you can visit it at the store. Yeah, it's okay to have had the fun back then. You are not required to keep those things now just because they are evidence of fun you had in the past. Yeah. So notice that, and maybe this is an opportunity where you can donate those things, you can sell them, you can give them away. But much like you collected them, you may not need to do that all at one time. You will go through your collection and you may find some of those items that have been stuck in the closet that you forgot about that still bring you joy, and you may want to put them on a shelf. Or you may want to put them all together and sell them as a lot. That's another thing. When you sell things as a lot, because that means it's a whole bunch of little things put together and it's only one's price. It's not like, oh, well, I just want that. No, in order to get that one good thing, you need to buy all of it. That can be a way of moving a lot of little things. Put like something really good in the midst of some mess stuff, and somebody may want that thing and bid on it enough to get all that stuff out. And then it's up to them to rehome the other stuff. Okay? Yeah. Now, Tammy Lee says, I was collecting the Buffalo Bills Little People every year and wouldn't open the box. And now the nephews play with them. Yay. There we go. And I believe Erin and Tammy Lee must like the same. Oh my God, my brain literally said the word band, but I meant team. Yeah. That fun collecting chapter might just be over, and that's okay. That could have been fun while you did it. Now, there can be other things that bring you fun. Okay? There we go. Go Bills. And Ellen, nice to see you. Ellen is going to make a donation at her local food bank today. I think that's a wonderful inspiration for all of us to also remember the abundance you have in your cabinets. Look for things that you have that you haven't eaten in a while that's going to expire within the next 6 months. Consider skimming off 10% of that, putting it in a bag and bringing it to a home, a food shelter, a food pantry. I was thinking a homeless shelter. If you haven't eaten it, you may not eat it, but also it can help somebody else. The association with decluttering and good feelings will encourage you to do more. Yeah. Thank you, Hill Dorset. She says, oh my God, I love how you make it easier to let things go. But you know what we do? I mean, this is what you do. It's a thought process. It is a process, but it's okay because you're consulting the two most important parts of your body, in my mind, are your head and your heart. Because if you're not thinking good and feeling good, you're going to regret letting go of something. So to save yourself from that fear of regret, you will hang on to stuff. So introduce your head and your heart into the conversation. You know? And this is how we do this is how I live my life. And it really has served me well. And have I done this all my life? Oh, hell no. That's why I can speak with such authority about what it's like to collect, about what it's like to grow up in a cluttered house, about how I cluttered my own house. But man, does it feel good to slow down and just take a couple of extra steps and thoughts and check in with yourself about how you can imagine it would feel to let it go. If you're throwing it in the trash, it would feel that way. But if I donated it, it would feel better. So if I have a place that feels good, you know what? Maybe I'll just do that. Have a conversation with yourself. Yourself is pretty cool. When you notice that there's fear making you hold on to things, but you don't run away from it, you stop and slow down, and you look over your shoulder at what you're afraid of, and you realize it's just a little kid in the car seat saying, don't do it. What if you need it? Have a conversation with them. Don't just believe them. Don't believe the fear right off the bat. I don't even know if that's a sports phrase. Look at me being sporty. Have a conversation with what you're afraid of. It's not as scary as you think. It really isn't. I have survived it. And what I would say is a lot of us are afraid of the same thing. So there's something that connects us all together. We're afraid of wasting money. We are afraid of needing something and not having it. We are afraid of forgetting the people we loved. We're afraid of being the person that's going to be forgotten in a couple of generations. We're afraid of not having enough food or clothing. Our nervous system that springs up the fear is concerned with feeling unsafe. I don't feel safe that I know where my my next meal is coming from. Yeah. Now, Cheryl says, my stuff makes me who I am. Interesting. And gives me security. Okay. I'm not going to say you're wrong because that's what you're telling yourself. That's you. But what I will offer to you is, Cheryl, I don't even know you, but I bet without one stitch of anything you have, you're probably still an interesting person on the inside before you added all this stuff into your life. But I also would be disingenuous if I didn't say that I give visual clues to people about the things that I like by what I purchase and display in my home and what I wear. It's a way of noticing what we like and communicating with others. I like mid-century kitschy stuff. Maybe you do too. We might have something to connect with. But if you like Victorian era stuff and I like 1950s stuff, maybe there's something that we connect on, but maybe not. But notice what Cheryl says. My stuff gives me security. My stuff, notice what we're going for, is a feeling of safety and security in your nervous system. And sometimes stuff can provide that. And other times, too much stuff can have the adverse effect, where you start to feel, instead of safe and secure, it's like when a hug becomes a vice, and it's like, now I'm suffocating. It felt like a comforting hug, but now there's too much, and it's closing in, and even me talking like this, I can't breathe. I'm overwhelmed. I'm stuck. I'm heavy. I can't move. This is not how I want to feel. But sometimes in certain eras of our life, we identify with our stuff. It's okay. It's all a journey. And I'm not going to try to convince you it isn't. What I will say from my perspective is that I used to care a lot more about stuff than I do now. Hey, I love Marietta's kitty felt that and meowed. That's awesome. Okay. I like the feeling, as Tammy Lee says, I feel a sense of freedom knowing that I have this dumpster coming. Yeah. Now, Tammy Lee, I know you have a dumpster, and I'm not going to dumpster shame at all, but this is something I will offer to you, okay? I think this would be really cool and fun. Now, I don't know your situation, so you have to run it up against like where you live and things like that. If my husband and I were getting a dumpster, I would also notice the stuff that's almost too good to put in the dumpster, and I would make a big free sign, and prior to putting it in the dumpster, I would put it out there with the free sign so somebody else could come pick it up and use it as opposed to going for a landfill. Now, that is something I would do if you don't feel like, yeah. Yes, so notice, Marietta. So notice too much can feel like you think, a big hug, a good hug can feel good. It hangs on too long can feel awkward. Yeah. There we go. And Tammy Lee says, absolutely. I will post on my Buy Nothing page and usually come by. Yes, free strikes on Facebook are great for that. Yeah, kind of almost like a really easy like garage sale. It's a free thing. Heck, people may help move the stuff out of your house if you're getting rid of it. Curb alert. Yep, we have a big old free sign because we live on a busy intersection. Yes. And the good thing about that is knowing that somebody else is going to use it, however they choose, and you are keeping something out of a dumpster, which goes to a landfill. Now, that being said, please know, every single one of us generates waste. So every single one of us already, but just by the way we live, is contributing to a landfill in one way, shape, or form. I don't say this to shame you. I say this to free you. That it is totally okay when you have trash to put it in the trash. I know myself, I am most likely going to be putting some things that could technically be recycled into my trash bag today because I leave for a week for tomorrow, and I'm going to put my one little trash bag out. So I feel okay about that. Notice it. It will always go back to, you guys, it will always go back to, how do I feel about this? All right? Yeah, now Tammy Lee says, I have a lot of stuff that is broken that I kept it. Notice, it has been here for a while because I'll fix it. And I say this sometimes sassily, and I say this sometimes without judgment. But did you fix it? I'm thinking the answer is no. because you have a lot of stuff that is still broken, because you had a thought that you were going to fix it, but then for whatever reason, you didn't fix it. Now, I think it's helpful. This was really helpful to me to understand what the thought process was when I did that, because I used to collect a lot of craft supplies. Anybody think they were going to be crafty because you would see things that people made and thought, oh, that's kind of cool. And then you think, I could make that. And yet, when it came to taking the action, yes, I did not fix it. She did not, in fact, fix it. It's okay. Yeah. What I noticed was, I used to think if I only had the time, I have all these ingredients. Yes, I promise when I have time, I will go be crafty. But what I realized was, for me, and I'll just share this with you, there's a gap between, so Nana T, this may resonate with you, I don't know, okay? I thought I needed time. When I had the time, I still wasn't doing it, okay? All right, Picky, I'll get to your question in a second, I promise. I just want to finish my thought before I forget it. In my mind, I would have an idea, what a great idea, and I could see the end result. However, idea, end result, right here, just like a road trip. However, when it got to being the person to do the thing, the idea of the journey took the energy out of me. Okay? So what I offer to everybody is, if you don't want to do the journey, just notice that about yourself and maybe support somebody who is creating the craft that you like and pay them to create the thing you want. Whether it's a scrapbook or, a Christmas wreath made out of vintage balls, because that was my thing. I was like, I could do that. And I did not want to do the craft. I just wanted the product. And I own that. And then I was happy, and I will share with you, this is crazy to me. It cost me, I thought I was spending a lot of money to have buy somebody else's ornament wreath. I have put that thing up every year. I freaking love it. It brings me joy every year. And when I look back to what I paid for it, it's feels like pennies now. Okay? Yeah. I bought the wreath and never made it. That's okay. You guys, it's okay that we are like that, because thank goodness there are other people out there who actually truly enjoy the process of crafting. I realized I didn't, but the neat thing was, I will say this, I discovered the thing I created when I realized, as opposed to beating myself up for not creating crafts with my free time, I said to myself, well, when you have the time, you still don't want to do it. When you have free time, what do you like to do? And I said, I like to hop in my car and drive around and take pictures of old buildings. And that's the thing I'm drawn to, that I love to do, that I can't wait to do that. The stuff down the basement, And when I realized that, I created a series of 5 books. I created a video series. I was crafty and creative, but not with crafty things. I created a whole creative chapter of my life when I made a website and books and TV and all that kind of stuff. And I only really could truly embrace that when I stopped beating myself for not being the crafty person. Okay? So, I said I would get back to somebody, and I apologize. Okay? Picky. Thoughts on clothes. Clothes that no longer fit but might fit later. Yes. Wicked simple. Take them out of circulation in your drawers and in your closet. Your stored clutter. Your stored clothing. Pull out anything that does not currently fit and put it into a container. I like clear plastic totes with a plastic lid on it so things don't get, gunked up with dampness or whatever. But make sure as you put it away that even if it would fit later, is it something you still would wear? Seasons change, styles change, our bodies change. But if it's clothing you think you want to wear, put it away in a box. But do this. Put a big old label on that box, an 8.5 by 11 piece of, paper, tape it on the box or slide it down between the clear side and say, clothing that I don't fit into now, but I hope to fit into later, size whatever, and then put the date on it. Label it so you know what it is, and then store it elsewhere. So that if you do change your body size, you know where that clothing is, but those clothes that currently do not fit on your current body are not cluttering up your storage for the clothing that you do currently wear. Okay? I've done it. I highly recommend it. Okay? Yeah. Now, Marietta says, I had a craft business for a year or two, but it petered out. Yeah, you know what petered out was your enthusiasm for it, and that's totally okay. I stored boxes of dried flowers for ages. Yeah, maybe hoping one day to rekindle the fire. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. There we go. I am a photographer and I only have one time in my life for one obsession. Okay, so here's what I want to offer to you that really helped me. And this was kind of fun. I don't know if I've ever talked about this, but I had an obsession with giving myself a chance to create what I called retro roadmap. It was my whole retro photograph type thing. I really wanted to give that the time I felt it deserved because I didn't want to be on my deathbed saying, I wish I had given it time. So I quit my full-time job to devote my time and my energy and my money to making that something I focused on. But even when I did that, I had some side ideas of things that I wanted to see created in the world. What I realized was just because I had the idea did not mean I had to be the person who created it. So I shared those ideas with people who I thought might be the people who could create it. Like, for example, I can't remember the idea of it, but it was an idea for a podcast. Oh yeah, it was called I Met the Beatles, metthebeatles.com or something. And it was a podcast interviewing people who had seen the Beatles live and what their story was and all the details and things like that. I thought that would be fascinating stories, but I couldn't do that and focus on doing my books. So I found a person that I knew that was a Beatles fan who was also working in PR. And I gave her that idea. I transferred the URL to her. And then I knew that somebody else was going to make good with that idea. And I did not have to be the person to bring it into the world. But I kind of did, because I was the one who I birthed the creative idea. And then I gave it up for an adoption because I knew that if that idea stuck with me, I wasn't going to do it. So think about that. There are people out there who are eagerly looking for craft supplies, but can't maybe afford to buy them full price at Michael's. So they're at thrift stores. They're at places where you're donating them. They are ones that are scouring the Facebook pages looking for free stuff. You can help their creative lives by being a benevolent, generous fairy godmother to people you know and don't know. Now, who the frick doesn't want to sound like a benevolent, generous, philanthropic, abundant, sharing kind of person? When you start to identify yourself with that, then you're not hanging on to things because you might use it someday, but nobody else can have it in the meantime. If you suddenly rekindle your love of crafting, you can go out to Michael's. You can do exactly what those people are. You can go pick up somebody else's stuff. Okay? Yeah. And Anne, notice, Anne is saying, I always loved and admired older, generous people who helped me out in huge ways, sometimes strangers. I think I'm starting to be one, and that is hugely gratifying. Yes. How about this? Let's be those people. How about this? We are those people. Anne. And even putting the things you want, remember how we distance ourselves from something we don't want by putting it in the past tense? I love and admire generous people who help people out. I am being one, and it is hugely gratifying. I am a generous person. I have enough. I have more than enough. And I can help other people because I've been helped by other people. And that's the kind of world I want to live in. So I am going to be the change I want to see in the world. And Nurse Liz, I love it. There we go. There we go. Tammy Lee says, I have a bin of fabric in my garage, and once I get to it, I'm donating it to the nursing home. All right. You guys, this has been a really fun hour. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to kind of articulate some of the stuff that is swirling around in my head that I want to share with you in the hopes that it helps you. Maybe I'm one of those older, generous people with my time and energy and thoughts that maybe there's something there in that free pile of things that you're going to pick with you and bring home with you. So pick a thought, pick a number of them, carry it around with you today, have it help you, okay? Have it help you. And I will not be on TikTok again until almost probably October 20th. We do have a YouTube tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to be the first people to know when I'm going to be live on TikTok again, join the Destination Decluttered email group at destinationdecluttered.com. I totally am promising to come back. In the meantime, there are over 850 free videos that you can watch on my Destination Decluttered YouTube channel, okay? To encourage you. You can even watch the recording of this one again in case you missed it or you want a reminder of what we talked about today, okay? So this is what I do. This is the chapter of my life that this is bringing me joy. And it's bringing me joy, and I hope it's bringing you joy too. All right, now I have to go do stuff, and I'm sure you do too. Thank you for hanging out with me. I'll see as many of you as you want to hang out tonight on YouTube, Destination Decluttered. And if not, I'll catch you TikTok sometime around the 20th, all right?